and before you know it, 10 hours have passed and it's bedtime. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. And recently I came across this artist on TikTok called Lady Marble. How fancy.
Ooh la la.
And they basically create these very graphic paintings / illustrations using some marbles and some ink on paper. And I just thought it was a really interesting process and I kind of fancied it myself.
Thief!
I know I'm stealing someone else's idea and I can only apologise, Lady Marble. I also don't know whether Lady Marble is the founder of this art practice or whether it was someone else. It's very, very hard on the internet to find out who was the original person who actually did it, or whether original ideas exist anymore. Don't know. But anyway, that's the person I came across and I thought it looked really fun and unpredictable and random way of creating art, and I thought I would try and make my own version today. So in the original videos that I've seen, Lady Marble uses like this little box thing and kind of wiggles the marbles around and stuff. I just thought I would use a frame. I had an old frame in the studio. I've got some paper here and we'll just do it this way and see what we can kind of come up with. I think if you see like a painting process or someone else's artistic practice, as long as you make it your own and try and do something not necessarily different with it, but kind of, I don't know, embellish and add on to it, I think that's fine. I think if, for example, I saw their content and I decided to make that very specific process and claim it to be my own and say I came up with this just out of my own mind, then that's when, you know, there's an issue, isn't there? I'll always try and give credit when I can give credit. So a bit of paper off there, and then I want to put it on top of here because I'm going to need to move it around, and then we want to put our frame on. What's that? Turn it over and just put that to one side. And then you're going to need a dish and a little spoon. There's a hair in here.
That's disgraceful.
I'm sorry, this isn't starting very well, is it?
No.
Obviously you're going to need some sort of marbles or something. I've got a little pack here. Because I'm making quite a large piece, and I think Lady Marble creates quite smaller pieces of artwork, I'll just stick them all in. And then you're also going to need some ink, I think. Oh my god, that rhymed. I didn't even mean to. I swear I didn't mean to rhyme that. And the only ones I've seen Lady Marble do is in black, but I thought it'd be fun to use some other colours. So I've got red. Oh, hang on a second. This ink's very old. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this blue ink up close, but there's nothing there. It is literally fully dried up. That's a mess. Okay, so I've got red and black. I haven't got blue anymore. Make sure to put your lids on properly, otherwise products dry out. And I think we'll start with black first. So just want to get these fully covered in black ink. By the way, I'm saying this is what they do. I'm assuming this is what they've done because, again, on TikTok, it's usually a very short vertical video with a bit of music over the top and no explanation at all. And then we want to get our marbles and you just want to kind of randomly, doesn't matter if you make a mess, just like proper mess it up. Ooh, fun. I'm loving it already. And then you just want to move the marbles around. Okay, and stop like that. Okay, I think that's interesting. Because we're going to go into this and add some more stuff and some more detail, you need to have some blank space around it. I think I've done a lot more than what Lady Marble does. I think Lady Marble's is very kind of minimalist. This is a lot. I feel like I've done too much. Surprise, surprise. And then I'm just going to take all these marbles off, remove the frame, and then we have a very abstract piece of work. I'm not going to tilt it too much because I think it'll dribble, but you could easily just have that as its own piece of artwork if you wanted to. It's given very minimalist vibes, which isn't my kind of thing, but I know some people out there would really like this. So you could easily just stop there and then that's it. But for this process, we're not going to. I need to wait for this to dry and then we'll go back into it. But I want to do another one of these first. Right, so grab another bit of paper. And we're just going to add some red ink this time. Weirdly enough, even though I'm using red ink and I'm wearing a red t-shirt, red's, I think, my least favourite colour. Red and brown. Don't love them colours, and grey, I can't stand them. But for some reason, I think the red one's going to look shit hot. I think it's going to look really cool. I think this also might be, you know when people have them sand gardens and there's like marbles in the sand and they move and stuff? I feel like it might relate somehow to that. There's some sort of like therapeutic kind of, I don't know, meditation vibes happening. I feel like it anyway. I don't make it feel relaxing, but I think it's supposed to be relaxing. Well, already I can tell this is giving Halloween vibes. Feels very bloody. It's not as nice as I thought it was, actually. So that makes me excited. I like Halloween. And let's have a little roll around. You do have some sort of control with this, but not as much as some people would like. Okay, that's all I want to do. Because I've got all the concentration here. There's a lot happening here. And then we've got some kind of stuff happening there. And then marbles off. Right, and then frame off again. And there we go, another very fun, minimal piece of artwork, if you wanted to keep it that way. It's almost given kind of like some sort of map or some sort of, you know, like tube stations and undergrounds and stuff, how they have all the railway lines. It's also given that. It's also given kind of aerial view, like looking down at fields. That's what I'm getting from it anyway. But I'll put this one with the other one, wait for them to dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. So, I don't know how long it takes to dry. About half an hour? I don't know. I'll see you in a bit, and then we can move on to the next step. So I'm back with my little ink splatters, and they're fully dry now. This is the black one. I think that's looking really cool. And then this is the red one. Again, looking really interesting, really different. And I think I want to go for the black one. So I've got some pens here, and what Lady Marble Art, it's such a strange thing to say, tends to do is gets another colour. So say I wanted this blue, and then just basically kind of draws lines within the kind of dark areas. So if you look at that, something like that anyway. But I think with something like this, you could obviously do what you want. You don't really have to do lines. You could create all sorts of patterns and do lots of kind of different things with it. And the ones I've seen as well, they tend to stick to one colour within the ink splatters. But you could easily go for multiple colours if you wanted to. And then you could also do like one corner. And the ones I've seen, obviously, they do it on a smaller scale and they fill in all their spaces. Again, you don't have to do that. You could just take small sections of this and add some pattern and make it the way you want to make it. So like that little section, for example, I've done the lines going kind of one way, and then on the other one it goes a different way. Just to mix things up a little bit, you could use kind of a thicker nib or a thinner nib. Just piss about, see what works for you. I'll stick with the lines rather than dots. I feel like I need another colour though, just my personal preference. I can't do just one colour. I need a purple. I like my art to be very colourful. Oh yeah, this feels better. I'm just happy to see more colour. I think it's a very simple art process. It almost reminds me of kind of colouring in. So obviously you're taking these little sections, you're colouring your little bits in. Kind of like them number paintings that we do. But obviously you're just in control and do what you want to do with it, rather than someone else telling you what to do with it. This is easily an activity in an art process where you could proper zone out. Like, I'm talking about just kind of chill, do something like this, and before you know it, 10 hours have passed and it's bedtime. I'm just thinking I could start on, if there's a thicker nib, I could start on this line and do it like this instead of starting in the corners. And I'm sure this Lady Marble Art person has their own kind of reasoning for the way they do things and the reason their patterns are the way their patterns are. But if you come to do something like this, you can start to see what you're wanting from it and what works for you. See? And then I'm just thinking we could reverse that and do a purple on the other side, but in a thinner nib. Like if you look at that section, how cool does that look? It's just little, it's just simple, and it's very graphic. And you could totally tell, once you do like loads of this, it's really going to start to build up like a really nice picture. But now I'm in the dilemma of, do I want to introduce a third colour? Do I want to go out of this kind of square, and I could do some kind of bits outside of it? You could do so much with it. I think the marble kind of process part is just a jumping off point, and then as you're going, it'll just kind of expand and evolve. Right, well, I'm gonna colour in my little sections and just zone out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I need that today, so we'll see what I come up with. Okay, so I think I finished with my marble piece of art, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of into it. I need your opinion though, because I haven't coloured the entire thing in. I've only done that much. Do you think it needs the full thing coloured in? Because I don't know, I like it the way it is, but do we need the whole of the white space as the pink and the blue or not. I don't know. It's just something really different. It's very graphic, very kind of street arty, graffiti kind of look to it. And I think something like this as well, if you cut that down, mounted it and put it in a frame, that would look absolutely amazing. And I think it would also work in a home that's quite minimalist and just wants that little touch, but it would also work quite well in more of a maximalist setting too. And they were really, really easy to make. I don't think I did exactly what Lady Marble Art did, because with their drawing in, they used like a white pencil and did some sort of shading. Don't fully understand the exact process that they do. If you want, go check out their original content, and I would highly recommend it. It's very relaxing. And you could even imagine, to say you did the red version and then you coloured that in and added some, I don't know what would go with red. Black, I think would look really good. Black and possibly like a green or something. But I think that's just a proper fun process, isn't it? And I'll just give you a bit more up close. I know my lines aren't particularly perfect. I don't think they need to be. And as I was doing it as well, it felt like almost the black part of it was sort of like a skin and the colour part was the bit underneath it. It was very unusual. And I think my favourite part is the bits where I've kind of gone like out of the frame a little bit and just kind of, I don't know, it feels a bit naughty, doesn't it? So yes, let me know at home whether you'll be attempting to do something like this. Grab yourself some marbles, chuck some ink on and roll them around and then draw back into it. Fun. Anyway, I think that just about does it for today's arty video. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you come across any weird art processes or anything like that, then let me know, because I like trying these out. I don't even mind trying these out so you don't have to. I just like trying them out. Maybe next time I should do like an Yves Klein version of a painting. And if you don't know who Yves Klein is, it was this artist who was really renowned for the colour blue. It was a very specific blue. In fact, I think it was called like Klein blue or something. And he basically got women to chuck themselves at bits of paper or canvas or whatever, coloured in this blue paint, and then just like print themselves onto it. Maybe I should do that.
Oh no, that's okay.
Also, I'm wondering whether Yves Klein might have potentially been a bit sexist. Did he use women? In fact, let me Google it. Did Yves Klein use male models, or was it all just females? No, he used naked women as human paintbrushes.
Oh dear.
I don't know whether I like the sound of that. Let me Google, was Yves Klein sexist? Yes, it was. It was criticised for being sexist. While some argue the works are a powerful exploration of the human body and a critique of traditional art, others view them as exploitative, reducing women to instruments and perpetuating a patriarchal gaze. Phew, that was a sentence and a half, wasn't it? But that makes sense, actually. I can kind of see it. I feel like I see it more the sexist way than I do anything else. Okay, so maybe we need to break them boundaries and I start doing some naked body prints. No! But using me as a paintbrush. I think that's more appropriate. Just means you'll see my todger. I'm just joking, I'm not going to do that, okay? No one wants to see that. It'll get shy anyway and shrivel up and go back inside.
Ew.
I'm joking, it doesn't do that. I don't think it's possible to do that.
Please make it stop!
Have you noticed how at the end of my videos I just seem to lose my mind and just start talking about random shit? Don't know what happens. Anyway, I'll see you next week. Oh my god, I think I'm starting Halloween content next week. Yes, I am. How exciting. Next week I'm starting some Halloween content. The whole of October I've decided to do Halloween stuff. Oh my god, it's gonna be so much fun. Love Halloween. It's my favourite time of the year. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. No one wants to miss my Halloween content this year. But then the problem is Halloween ends and then it's Christmas. And like, I don't like Christmas. I think I'm the only crafter on planet Earth that does not like Christmas. Shall I replace Christmas this year and just do Halloween content instead? I would completely be down for it, you know I would. I think people would be disappointed though to watch Halloween content at Christmas time.